Welcome to Global Health and Wellness Practitioners YouTube channel, where we're giving exposure and connecting great practitioners while providing a platform for them to leave a message and a piece of their legacy on. Hello and welcome. Today we have Terri. Terri, how do you say your last name?
Sliz, like
Sliz.
Liz with an S in front of it. Sliz.
Sliz. Terri Sliz. I met on, I believe, Facebook, and we became friends because we have similar paths and experiences. She is a end of life companion and for the dying and family members. She supports people in advanced illnesses and their families with respite care. She came into this work because of her experience with her family. If you want to share a little bit about that with us.
First, I'd like to say thank you, Stephanie, for having me on your show. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
So, just to give you a little background, it started. I was the baby of my family of four. The baby was 17 when I came along. So, over time, my mother became ill. And since my brothers and sister already were having families of their own, the responsibility of taking care of my mom fell on my shoulders. At first, I was like a little upset that I had to give away some of my young adulthood to take care of my mom, but then I realized she was there for me, so I'll be there for her. It was a lot of work, a lot of overwhelming responsibilities that I had to take on that I wasn't quite prepared for, but I learned as I went. But it was very overwhelming and demanding, but
And then
it
you
was worth it.
started to,
Go
right.
ahead.
You took care of your sisters and brothers
Right,
also.
because they were so much older than me. I had the brother that was 17. He was the baby when I came along. When he was 40, he had an advanced heart attack, which left him with only 25% of his heart working for him. So my sister-in-law called me up and said, "Since you took care of mommy, would you mind helping me with your brother?" So that dealt with changing bandages, learning how to drain fluid through a tube that was attached to his chest. Again, that was a lot of emotions went through because you don't think you're gonna take care of a sibling. You always think they're gonna be there for you throughout your life. So I took care of him, and then a few years later, my sister was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. So again, my family asked if I would step in and help take care of her, which I did.
And one of the biggest things that you learned was about the taboo of talking about the subject,
Yes,
the hard
yes,
conversation.
that's a big thing. People are afraid to talk about death. Even when they're dying, they're afraid. Um, they don't want to give up. They want to hold on to that hope that maybe a cure will be found, or um, just the hope that maybe the doctors are wrong. They don't want to believe that they're dying, and the family members don't want to admit that their loved one is going to die. They don't know how to deal with the pain, and they don't know how to talk about things. So I like to say, when I was with my family, I would sit down and talk with my sister, like, what do you want? Do you want to live on a machine if it came down to it? And she was like, no. So that like opened the line of communications with my nieces, her daughters, her husband. I would sit down with them and say, your mother doesn't want to be hooked up to life support if something were to happen. So they listened, and it was an open line of communication. But like I said, it's very difficult because the person that's dying thinks that they're a burden on their family, and they just want to like die peacefully in a corner, and but they don't realize what goes into that, what the responsibilities the caregivers have or the family members have after they pass on, arranging a funeral or a cremation or an end of life celebration party. Um, they just think that They don't know, they don't worry about their finances or what they're going to leave that ancient heirloom to, they, so
Yeah. And when you could open this conversation up, it's about like kind of, yeah, right, planning ahead and planning to make it easier on everybody to accept the situation.
exactly, a lot easier on everyone. Like that's a very good point. Because the dying person, it's a relief off of their chests, so they know they can die peacefully because all their stuff, all their wishes are being fulfilled. And it's a relief for the family members and the caregivers because they know exactly what the patient wants, what the loved one wants towards their end of life. Do they want to be in a hospital? Do they want to die at home? Or, so it's a big relief. It's a big stress
and
reliever.
and I think the emotional part that's on top of trying to do everything for them in the moment, like bedpans and showers and washing, and then to have that layer of that you're trying to keep them alive when they're actually dying
Right.
adds a lot of stress to the whole situation.
Absolutely.
When we can accept it, um, also talk, if you could talk a little bit about the overwhelming part of taking care of them and how normal it is that it's completely overwhelming for the caregiver.
Yeah, people don't realize it is overwhelming, but it's okay to be overwhelmed. You're expected to be overwhelmed because you don't know what to expect. So there's a lot of aspects that go with that, with the overwhelming. Like in my own case, I was overwhelmed not only with, like you said, changing my mother's bedpans, or at that time she was wearing Depends. So, taking care of that aspect of it, bathing her and stuff, but also how am I going to run to the grocery store to get the food that I need so I can prepare her special diet foods? And when am I going to have time to eat? And also you get overwhelmed because you're constantly around that person and you have to remember that to take out time for yourself, whether you just want to lay down in the next room for an hour or two, or if you want to go for a drive or go out to dinner with some friends. You have to remember that you have a life too. But all the overwhelming stuff, it it's normal to feel overwhelmed. That's the only thing I can say is you're going to be overwhelmed. It's normal to be overwhelmed. There's people that are willing to help you. You just have to know who to reach out to and what they can do.
I think the biggest part, yeah, is to be able to reach out and ask for help
Yep. And
ask for
don't try to get into that, whether you're a person that's in the advanced stages of illness. Don't be afraid to say I need help with this. Or if you're the caregiver, you can't do it alone. You need a support system.
yeah, and that's one of the things that you could plan ahead when you actually actualize the death. You can plan ahead to get some help in prepared for it, the
Absolutely.
different situation.
And another thing is you don't have to wait until you're in the advanced stages. You could do it ahead of time too. Make sure your family knows and you have in writing with I think it's the advanced directives, but it's like a living will or something that states what you want to happen just in case you can't talk for yourself. Say that you're in a car accident and all of a sudden you go into a coma. Your family's not going to know that you don't want to be hooked up to machines. That's no way for you to live. So they're going to try to keep you alive, try to keep up that hope that some miracle will happen where you'll come out of the coma.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was also thinking, um, all if we can prepare a little bit more ahead for what's happening, it helps when after the person dies to help us be a little bit more peaceful with things and be able to put all the pieces of our life back together. If you want to
Yeah.
talk about your experience with that.
Well, I was going to say, after being a caregiver to my family so long, then it's like, okay, what do I do with my life? What what can I do that has meaning? Like especially after my mother died, because there was a couple of years in between her and my brother's passing. So after my mother passed away, I had my job. I was a pharmacy tech, but it wasn't fulfilling. And I felt like there was pieces missing. And then I felt more alive, when my sister-in-law called me up and said, "Hey, can you help with Mike?" And then from there to my sister. But um, them having their, like you said, certain things in order, there's a piece that comes after that. But there's a piece missing too. You feel empty. You don't know what to do to complete yourself anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And to continue to live on, stay here and do what we have to do here.
Right. That's a big piece of it too. You have to figure out what you want to do, but it's hard. I'm sorry.
Yeah. um so yeah, now you feel a big piece of what's in your heart is really to help other people,
Oh, me
um
personally? Oh,
yeah,
yes.
through
Yeah,
this.
I definitely realize I want to help people not feel so overwhelmed and so helpless. And that's what I think my true calling was in life. I just never realized it.
And
I people told me I have healing abilities. Well, when you think healing, you think medicine or massage or energy
right,
work.
right,
But
fixing.
yeah, but this big part of it too, I imagine, helping people be at ease, have a peaceful last few days on this earth, or helping the families or caregivers have peace because they know that they're doing the best for what their loved one wants.
and and if people don't know, there's actually death doulas like Terri that help the family with different gifts that they have. So there's a wide range of things that death doulas can do, but obviously, but we follow what we're called to do.
Hmm.
And Terri's specific pieces are the respite care and
And opening communication so you don't get overwhelmed at the end with all the things that you want, how you want your final days to be.
yeah, yeah. But there's other death doulas that do write out the advance wills and or vigil sitting. So sitting with the person while they're dying, they'll just come and sit with them. Um,
And they do legacy planning.
and legacy planning to help the person uh, go through what they did in their life, so that they could feel they're complete and more at peace, so that they could pass.
Right.
So Terri, what would you leave as a final message for people?
That it's okay to feel overwhelmed, but you don't necessarily have to be overwhelmed alone. There are people out there willing to help you. There are groups like hospice or visiting nurses, but there are other people that are willing to bring it down to a more personal level to help you and your loved one.
Yeah, to seek that out, to continue to seek that out,
Yes, there are plenty of resources available, and people can help you. You just have to
and
reach out.
really compassionate people ready to help.
I
So
like that
thank you.
compassion.
Yeah. Thank you, Terri, for sharing everything with us
Well,
today.
thank you for the opportunity, Stephanie. You have a great day.
You too. Thank you. And thank everybody for joining us.